Hello, and welcome to Voice of the Disabled, broadcast by CAN TV Studios in Chicago. I'm Joel Margolis, your host for today, and my two guests today are
Jazmine
Coates and
Emille
Nabweteme. I'm here today to ask the two of you about your use of the transportation system known as PACE. It's my understanding that PACE is supposed to provide transportation all over metropolitan Chicago to disabled individuals. Jazmine, where do you live?
I live on the south side. I live in Hyde Park.
And Emily, where do you live?
I live on the north side, Ariston and Foster.
In Chicago also?
Yes.
Okay.
North side.
Now, Jazmine, how did you come to use PACE? What was the process?
So when I have been riding with PACE since I was 12 years old. And back then CTA had it. And then when CTA had it, I found out later on that CTA did not want it, and so PACE wound up taking over.
And Emily, when did you come to use PACE?
Oh, I started using a PACE bus since 2015.
Okay.
Yes.
And Jazmine, how did you obtain the PACE services?
My mom got tired of driving me everywhere. So when she got tired of driving me everywhere, she decided that I needed to apply for PACE. All
right. And Emily, how did you obtain the PACE services?
That time I decided to use a PACE bus because I was tired of using regular buses.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jazmine, did it take very long to obtain the PACE approval to use the system?
Yes, it did. So because I initially started my riding with RTA January 2023.
And Emily, did it take very long for you to obtain the approval?
Not really. It took only 1 week.
Oh, so in your case it went fairly quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
After I explained them all my issues.
Now, could each of you tell us exactly how you obtain a ride on PACE? Do you call an office? Do you send in a request? If you need to go somewhere, how do you obtain the transportation?
So there's several carriers that you have to call in order to get into PACE, in order to get a PACE vehicle.
And those carriers are?
Those carriers are SCR, CDT, and at one time it was Arts Transportation. Now it's CDT, SCR, First Transit, and MV.
So PACE itself is not the organization literally providing the buses that give you the rides.
It's the carriers that are providing the rides.
Okay. In asking each of you about PACE, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not literally speaking directly to the PACE organization,
Okay.
despite the topic of this conversation. Is there some reason why they are not here today? Didn't they have the opportunity to come and speak?
So I have talked to a PACE representative. I have talked to a PACE employee. That PACE employee does not want to come to the CAN TV taping because she feels that she does not need to address what's going on with PACE.
So PACE was given the opportunity to come today and speak on their behalf,
Yes.
but they declined to do so.
Yes.
All right, well, we can't force them to come. Now, when you book a ride with PACE, okay, must you give them a certain number of days advance notice?
So when you book a ride with PACE, it is you have to do it the day before. You have to do it the day before.
And Emily, has that been your experience as well, booking it the day before?
Yes, I had experience before. For example, I went to a beach with my mom. They were supposed to pick us on time. They picked us late.
Okay.
And then the driver says that he didn't want to arrive at the place, so we had to go somewhere so that they can pick us, which was not good.
Now, when you book a ride with PACE, okay, what type of vehicle do they provide for you?
So they used to have these minivans, but now they provide these big buses.
And Emily, has it been your experience to ride both the minivan and the big bus?
Only minibus. Yeah.
On-
And the taxi.
Okay.
The fresh taxi. Yeah.
Jasmine, do you find much of a difference between the minivan and the big bus?
I think that the big buses are too big, and they have enough room to fit a lot of people, but sometimes these big buses do not fit. Sometimes these drivers do not know how to fit a lot of people in these big buses, as well as they take too long to drop people off.
So I have a question. What do you mean by big buses? You mean the regular buses or?
The regular PACE buses.
Like
Like
the
the regular PACE buses that come from each carrier.
Oh, yeah, I thought that you were talking about a different bus.
Emily, have you ridden on both the minivans and the buses?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you find to be the difference, if any?
Minibus, sometimes they don't, they have a space, but big buses, they don't have a space. That's why sometimes the big buses, they leave me. Minibus, they have a space and they don't leave me.
Okay.
Yeah, then I leave a complaint.
And in terms of dependability, Jasmine, when you book a ride with PACE, do you find that the pickup is usually on time at the location you specify?
No, they're not. They're not on time to pick people up, and they pick people up late. They'll give you a time, and then when they give you the time that you are saying that you need to be somewhere, they'll give you that time, but then they never follow through on that time that they have, that they say that they're going to come and pick you up. It's always that they're always running late to come and pick you up at the transportation at your pickup time.
And Emily, what has been your experience?
My experience, for example, sometimes instead of picking me up on time, they give my time to other people. I did be a bit the last to pick me up, and I told them I was supposed to be at the place on time. And then they started giving excuses because they wanted to pick other people first instead of me, my time.
So you found that they are sometimes late in coming?
Yes, they're sometimes late because they put they give another person my time to first pick him or her, and then me.
Well, Jazmine, if they're sometimes late, does that then cause you problems with things like medical appointments?
So as far as like medical appointments, if I know I have to be at a if I know I have to be at a doctor's office at a certain time, then I have to schedule my ride a lot earlier. Now, carriers, what they want, the drivers, what they want, these PACE drivers, what they wind up telling you is that they wind up telling you that they have another pickup. A lot of times when these other pickups, they come, they have other people in the vehicle that they have to drop off first, and then sometimes I'm not able to see my doctor's appointment. I'm not able to make it to my doctor's office.
And Emily, have you had problems getting to a medical appointment on time?
What do you mean by medical appointment on
Like
time?
doctor's appointments.
Or
Doctors,
optometrist or dentist?
Dentists.
No, I have never had any problem about that. But I have had problems due to different places, but not about medical.
And how have the drivers treated you, Jazmine? Do you find them usually to be courteous?
I find some drivers to be courteous, but there's one driver that I found that was very rude. So I was sitting by the window, and then when I was sitting by the window, I had my music on, and so I'm just sitting there by the window having my music on, and then the driver winds up telling me as soon as I get to my house that she needs for me to turn my music off.
And Emily, what has been your experience with the attitude of the drivers?
Oh, my driver, for example, I had a Bible study. A Bible study group. Then I wanted the driver to escort me. He didn't want, so he just opened the door. Then he told me to get out, and then he left. Yeah, he didn't want to escort me, so I put myself there, and I said, okay, let me go by myself if he doesn't want to escort me. He was a mini guy.
And
that was on the north side.
And Jazmine, have you find that the drivers have been helpful in helping you physically, getting on or off the bus?
I do, but a lot of times when when they come to pick you up, they just sit there, and you have to actually ask these drivers to assist you with the ramp.
And Emily, have you found the drivers would more often than not help you physically?
Yeah, I had a driver who didn't want to hurry me with a lift. And then I say, okay, I'm going to use the stairs if he doesn't want to hurry me with a lift.
If you have some dissatisfaction or some reason to critique the service,
okay,
is there an office or an organization to whom you can report failure by PACE to give you good service?
So there's a number that you call if you are I don't want to say so if you get made no shows, or if you don't like the service for that day, then you call the 1-800 number to file a complaint.
And have you had occasion to do that?
I've had filed complaints after complaints, and they don't seem to go anywhere, or they don't get back to you in the time that they you file these complaints. And then when they do get back to you, it's a lot later that they get back to you.
And Emily, have you had experiences of trying to file a complaint?
Yes, I have tried to leave messages, but they never responded back because maybe the voicemail was full. So yeah, I used to leave messages. They never called back.
Okay. Jazmine, to the best of your knowledge, are there any organizations that are trying to improve the PACE service for the disabled?
I can't answer that question because I don't know if that's even possible for them to actually do that.
And Emily, have you had experience with any organizations that are trying to improve the PACE service?
No.
No, okay. So on the one hand, we have a series of unresolved issues in terms of rides that may not be on time or
Yes.
drivers that are not helpful, but then in terms of filing complaint, the follow-up is lacking. So at the present time, there is no organization that is actively working to try and improve the
Yes.
PACE service?
No.
No.
And both of you have had the same experience that no one is actively representing you on this issue.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, it sounds to me like there's a lot of work to be done here in terms of improving this service, okay? I'd like to thank both of you for coming in today and sharing your experiences with us and highlighting this issue of the need to improve transportation for the disabled. I hope you'll return to visit us again sometime.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And to all of you watching today, I'd like to thank you for joining us. My guests today have been Jazmine Coates and Emille Nabweteme, both disabled individuals trying to use the PACE system. I'm Joel Margolis, your host for Voice of the Disabled, and I hope you will join us again sometime here at Voice of the Disabled, broadcast by CAN TV Studios in Chicago. Goodbye for now. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Do you know what makes Chicago great? At 8, why is Elman Company. For more than 31 years, Elman Company has brought the biggest and the brightest showcase in Chicago, giving a platform to thousands of young people across the city. So tune in to KNTV 19 this week and every week for Elman Company. And more amazing homegrown and ground.
Okay, well, this is Rob Rotman here. You know, we've been having an interesting discussion about transportation and all of the problems. I'd like to introduce, again, our friend Joel Margolis. So, Joel, you were asking questions before. Now I'm going to ask you, how long have you been using medical transportation? Or what is?
I've been using the medical transport system at least 10 years.
Okay. How did you find out about it?
I found out about it from social workers
Okay.
who work with the disabled.
Okay, and was that through the ARC or?
No, I believe it was the social worker with whom I've worked at the Council for Jewish Elderly.
Okay, yeah. Okay, what did they? Why did they refer you to that?
Oh, because my social worker at the Council for Jewish Elderly knew very well that I was now a disabled person with limited eyesight and had to stop driving many years ago, and moreover was having some difficulty accessing places that were unfamiliar to me.
Right, so when did she suggest that you apply for medical transport?
I think it was about the time that I moved into one of the buildings on Sheffield Avenue that are senior citizen buildings, probably about the year 2013.
2013. Okay, what has been your experiences, some of the experiences you've had with medical services?
I've had a series of difficulties with medical transport. Not every ride has been a problem. There have been some that have gone smoothly, but more often than not, there have been problems in multiple ways.
Right. What are some of them? Yeah, I mean.
All right, let me give you some specific examples, okay? The most egregious ones have been ones where the ride simply never came at all, okay? This happened to me less than a year ago, and the ride simply never showed up. I received neither telephone call nor text message.
Wow.
And I was left stranded at home because I was scheduled to see my ophthalmologist, a retina specialist, whose offices are in the far southern suburbs in Harvey, adjacent to the Ingalls Memorial Hospital, and I live on the north side of Chicago. And the ride simply never came at all, okay? And by the time it failed to come, all right, it was no more than perhaps an hour before the actual appointment, and getting there in public transportation, which is very difficult, would have been impossible in less than an hour.
Sure, sure. What are the excuses they give when they're late?
Well, in one case, one of several where the ride never came at all, I did get a phone call the following day from a driver who offered a very vaguely worded few statements, such as, sorry we couldn't get to you, but I got kind of caught up with myself, or something close to those words, which really was a non-explanation. In other cases, I've simply received no explanation at all, okay? They never came. I called medical transport again, and was usually given some rather vague response, such as, oh, we sent someone, or something to that effect, but that did not solve the problem.
That's it. So, I mean, isn't that interesting that, you need medical attention. You think they would want people to have, how, from what you've experienced, what kind of drivers have you had?
The drivers have been a very mixed group, okay? The drivers come from a variety of different sources.
Okay.
Most of the drivers are not employees of medical transport. Some of them are small-scale entrepreneurs who have a minivan and ride service and contract with medical transport. Some of them are drivers for Uber or Lyft, okay? Some of them are literally taxis, okay? The drivers have been a varied group in terms of their responsiveness to me. There have been a few who were both polite and courteous, okay? But that's not always been the case. Okay?
How, in terms of, it seems to be a problem in our society, do you get drivers who they don't understand English, or?
Not so much a failure to understand English, but a lack of deep knowledge of the city's geography, okay? For instance, I'll give them a specific address, okay? In some cases, they will literally take me right there. In other cases, they will use the GPS, which should get them there. In yet other cases, even with the GPS or a map, they have some difficulty finding the exact location. They may, for instance, come within a block or two of it, but can't seem to find the actual entrance to the building. This might seem trivial to you or to some of our viewers, but when someone is either visually handicapped or in any way disabled, being left off or dropped off, for instance, let's say half a block from the entrance to the building, can be a very serious obstacle and possibly even a dangerous situation. Okay?
Now, is there like a, let's say you get bad service, is there an appeal process so you can call the people? No.
I'm not aware of any. I've tried calling medical transport, but I've received no real, what shall I say, no real satisfying explanations. In my opinion, this whole system needs to be organized along different lines.
And please explain that,
I think a large part of the problem is that the drivers, okay, because most of them are not direct employees of medical transport, risk very little if they fail to give me or some other passenger proper service, okay? For instance, if they do something such as come 25 minutes late, okay? What happens to them? Does an Uber or a Lyft driver lose the right to offer Uber and Lyft services? No, okay? If someone is a small-scale transport company that owns a couple of minivans and they fail to give me personally service, does that put them out of business or get them into some problem with a government agency? No. I think that the heart of this problem is that the great majority of the drivers are not actually employees of medical transport. For instance, if medical transport as an organization had its own drivers on staff, and they provided 80 or 90% of the rides, then if a driver fails to give proper service 2 or 3 times, he could easily be fired, okay? But if they contract with Uber or Lyft, and Uber or Lyft, the Uber driver, the Lyft driver, fails to give me proper service on that one trip, does that disqualify them from being Uber or Lyft drivers? No, they can just go on as before. So I think we need to have medical transport structured along other lines.
And what would you say those lines should be?
I think medical transport needs to have a staff of its own full-time professional drivers, okay? In addition, I think there needs to be some kind of review or approval board which would be composed of passengers such as myself, who could be chosen for, let's say, a period of 2 or 3 years to sit on a customer board and to receive reviews or critiques of the service, okay, and speak directly to the executive leadership of management of medical transport, okay? That might go a long ways. In addition, since this is a service which is being licensed or approved by the state of Illinois or the city of Chicago, whatever the government agency is, I think it would be helpful for whatever government agency contracts with medical transport to, you know, have some kind of feedback from the riders directly.
Okay, well, thank you. I think we're about out of time, Joel, but let's continue this discussion. And please, if there are other people watching this show, they have their own concerns, please contact us. Joel, thank you very much. Happy New Year as we approach our New Year. And this is Rob Rotman, Voice of the Disabled, Adapt Chicago Productions. Thank you.
Rob, thank you for interviewing me, and I look forward to speaking with you again, and I hope some improvement can be made in the medical transport system.
Right, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye for now.